Now, up to this point, we're still on the left side of this slide. We are always validating when a form is submitted. We're not validating when an input lost focus or on every keystroke. Now, of course, that could be fine. That could be exactly the behavior you want. But let's now explore why we still might want to tweak that behavior in regards to certain aspects. We have the entered name is valid state, the entered name value state, so to say, and the entered name touch state. And still, this behavior isn't fully there where I want it to be. It's good that on submission it now shows us this error, but for example, it doesn't show us an error if I click in there, maybe type something, but then remove everything and click out of there. We know that this is invalid because an empty input is not allowed, but we only show the user this error message when submit is clicked. And that might be too late. That might not be the best possible user experience. I think it's better to show the user this error when the user had a chance of working on this. So if I click in there and click out of there and I leave it empty, I want to see that error that tells me that this is then not allowed. Because I had a chance of editing it, I didn't do that, now I should probably get that error that tells me, hey, you need to enter something here. So therefore, we might want to also validate on blur, as it's called, which means when the input loses focus. And that's not too difficult. Besides the onChange handler, we can also add the onBlur handler. And that's a built-in event which fires whenever this input loses focus. Hence, we can add a new function here. Let's say the name input blur handler, where we also get the default event. And then I want to bind this name input blur handler to my input here. Now in the name input blur handler, I want to do two things. For one, I want to set entered name touched to true, because if an input loses focus, it definitely was touched. The user had a chance of working on it. But in addition, we might want to start validation here. So we might want to run this logic again. So we can copy this code here and add that in the name input blur handler, so that we check the entered name, which we update with every keystroke still, and we set entered name is valid false if that name is invalid. Now we do have code duplication here, and we'll take care about that in a second, but for the moment let's take this approach here. Let's duplicate the code. It's fine for a second. So now with that, if I click in there and click out of there, I also get my warning here, which I would say is a better user experience. But now we maybe want to give the user a chance of fixing this error. And if I now start typing here, it would be great if this error disappears as soon as I entered a valid value, so that I as a user know once I did reach a valid value, once I can stop typing, for example. And that's why we also might want to validate on every keystroke now, but only in combination with the other validation steps we integrated before. Because just validating on every keystroke alone would probably not be good. We would be throwing errors at users without them having a chance of providing something valid first. But now that we do actually allow the user to provide a valid value first by listening to the lost focus and the form submission, now that we're doing that, we also want to give the user a chance of getting immediate feedback, direct feedback on every keystroke when it comes to fixing that invalid value. So that's what we're going to do now.